Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, welcome to another episode of 30 Days with the Sahaba. And inshallah today, I'm going to be narrating the story of one of my own favorite Sahabas, and that's Jafar Bn Abī Tālib. Now, Jafar was the son of Abu Talib, the uncle of the Prophet, right? And he was one of the early Muslims. He accepted Islam very, very early. And like every other early Muslim, they witnessed a lot of hardship and torment from the kuffar. So this led the Prophet to tell the believers, the early believers, to migrate to Abyssinia. And Jafar was one of those that migrated to Abyssinia. But because of the enmity that the kuffar had against Islam, they were not pleased, and they sent emissaries to Abyssinia to go and lay false allegations on the Muslims, so that the leader of Abyssinia, which was the Negus, would send the Muslims back to Mecca so that they can continue to persecute them. So the emissary that was sent by the kuffar was Amr ibn al-As. When Amr ibn al-As got to Abyssinia and he spoke, because he had a very cordial relationship with the Negus, he spoke with the Negus, and the Negus, being a just Christian at that time, a just person, a just leader, and he was a Christian, he said he would listen to the Muslims as well. He called upon the Muslims, and the Muslims concluded that Jafar would be the one to represent them. And what transpired between Jafar, Amr ibn al-As, and the Negus was one of the most amazing stories that happened in Islam. But the standout activity or the standout action that occurred in the life of Jafar was during the Battle of Mu'tah. The Prophet ﷺ said to the warriors that they were going to be led by Zayd ibn Haritha. But if Zayd ibn Haritha dies during the course of battle, then Jafar ibn Abī Tālib should take charge. And if Jafar ibn Abī Tālib dies, Abdullah ibn Rawaha should take charge. And during the battle, it was a very, very fierce battle against the Roman Empire. It was a very, very fierce battle. And in the course of battle, unfortunately, Zayd ibn Haritha was killed. And then Jafar took charge by carrying the standard of Islam. He fought fearlessly because Jafar was a great warrior. But because he was the one holding the standard of Islam, the kuffar specifically targeted him in order to make sure that the standard of Islam falls to the ground. And whenever the standard of Islam, which is like a flag, falls to the ground, it's always demoralizing to the warriors, to the Muslims that were fighting. So they focused on him to ensure that he was killed and also the standard fell. So they attacked him specially. And while he was fighting, he fought fearlessly. But the kuffar were able to chop off his hand, the one he held the standard with. But because he didn't want the standard to follow, he held the standard with his left hand and he continued to fight with it. And then the kuffar also chopped off the left hand, meaning that his two arms were chopped off. It was only the left hand that was, the upper arm that were left. So he held the standard with his upper arm, subhanallah, and he kept on struggling against the kuffar. This is such a heroic act. And he kept on fighting so much that he did not turn his back on the kuffar, not once. And at the end, he was stabbed 90 times on his face and the front part of his body before he eventually died. While the battle was going on, the Prophet ﷺ was narrating the occurrence of the battle due to his divine inspiration to the Sahabas that were at home. And the Prophet told them that Zayd had been killed. The entire Muslim began to cry. He also told them that Jafar ibn Abī Tālib has also been killed. And they continued to cry. And lastly, he told them that Abdullah ibn Rawaha as well had been killed. And remind you, after the battle, after Abdullah ibn Rawaha was killed, Khalid bin Walid was the one that took charge. Then after that, the Prophet now told the people that he has also seen them, all the three of them, in Al-Jannatul Firdaus. And they all began to be excited. And also he said that not only did he see Ja'far ibn Abi Talib in Al-Jannatul Firdaus, he also saw him flying around Al-Jannah with wings. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has replaced the hands of Ja'far with wings. Subhanallah. And he became Ja'far at-Tayyar, the one with the 2 wings. Such an amazing story. It is important for us to learn from this, right? He was the cousin of the Prophet, but yet he was so submissive to lead the Muslims to battle. He paid the ultimate price, and that is with his life. But then look at the reward that he eventually earned. Inshallah, bi Qudrati, I pray that I'll be able to witness or see Ja'far ibn Abi Talib flying graciously in Jannatul Firdaus. And I pray as well that you are able to witness such an amazing view as well. Jazakumullah khairan for listening. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.